How many of you throw away expired food? Are you throwing it away because of quality, like taste or texture, or because you think it might have gone bad, like it's spoiled or rotten? I did a little poll over on my Instagram just to see what people thought. At the time of filming this, 51% said they threw away expired food because of food safety. Only 12% said they threw it away because of food quality. So, stop throwing away expired food. It's most likely not even expired. In the United States, food expiration dates can be incredibly confusing because they are not federally standardized, except infant formula. That's the only exception. So here's a breakdown of what they mean and how it's regulated. But first, did you know that nearly 50% of all of the food that goes to waste in the US goes to waste from people's homes? According to the EPA, for a house of four, that accounts for nearly $3,000 a year of food waste. That is the equivalent of your Disney cruise getting thrown away in the trash every single year. But not only that, if we could recover half of the total 46 billion pounds of foods wasted, we could feed every hungry person in the United States 3 meals a day, every day. And beyond recovering food, if less food was wasted at home, the demand for constantly fresh food would be lowered, which would bring the cost of everyday foods down. So 3.3 million tons, or 7 billion pounds, of good quality food is being tossed in the United States simply because people are confused over poor quality expiration dates and labels. And I get it. In the US, we have use by, sell by, enjoy by, best if used by, best if used before, best when used by, freeze by, expires on, fresh until, quality assurance date, and loads more. Along with the fact that different states have different laws regulating food date labels. So it's not even consistent across the states. The departments that have regulation and oversights on these are the USDA, which oversees meat, poultry, and some egg products, and the FDA, which is all other foods. But neither of these departments have really done anything to help solve this massive problem. In fact, the FDA does encourage the best if used by dates, but confusingly indicates that that means quality, not safety. According to the FDA, their primary focus does remain on safety. But again, their date label recommendations only affect quality. Most government officials would rather spend their times on dog whistle causes like banning fake meats or coming up with new labeling names for what they can call oat milk. They would rather spend their time on worrying about things like oat milk than focusing on the one thing that could help stop hunger. Now, I have quite a few tips to help. I was actually turned onto this subject and read a lot more about it because of my charity partner for my Boston Marathon run coming up, Spoonfuls. They sent me some of this information, but I do want to say that the opinions in here are my own. Spoonfuls does an incredible amount to help fight food waste and food insecurities, and there is still time to donate to my charity run for the Boston Marathon. It's coming up April 21st. I cannot wait. I still cannot believe I'm running this thing. But before we jump into all of that, I did want to tell you about today's sponsor, which has been a massive help with my marathon training, Lumen. A lot of you know my weight loss journey. I've talked about it a lot in the past. I lost over 110 pounds, got into shape, and I'm now more active than I've ever been my entire life. But it was a long journey and I needed some help. When I started, I felt like I was doing everything right, but I wasn't seeing the results I wanted. If this sounds like you, it might have to deal with your metabolic flexibility. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. It lets you know if you're burning fats or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and stress management. For me, this has been huge. I know if I wake up in the morning if I'm burning carbs or fats and how to fuel my day. I also blow into it before I go on a long run, so I know if I need to carb up a little bit extra to have that energy to get me through. Lumen lets you know what's happening in your body in real time and builds you a personalized health plan based on your real-time data, and gives you daily macro recommendations, which has fit perfect in my life. When I first started my weight loss journey, I told myself it was going to be different this time. I wanted to make lots of little changes that would add up over time. With Lumen, you can make small changes that over time will help your body's ability to efficiently switch between different fuel sources like carbs or fats. The more you're metabolically flexible, the better your health and well-being. So gang, if you want to take the next steps to being a fitter, healthier version of you, head over to lumen.me/SauceStache or click the link below and you'll get 15% off your Lumen. Lumen, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for making such an incredible tool. Okay, so we're back. Can you eat food past the date on the label? In most cases, yes. As long as it looks, smells, and tastes normal and has been stored properly, there is usually nothing wrong with it. But there's a few things you want to watch out for. If you see mold, smell foul odors, or has a slimy texture, toss it. Things like dry goods and canned foods can typically last well past their dates on their labels, if unopened and stored properly. High acidic foods like tomatoes and citrus, they typically have a date of around 1 to 1.5 years, but they can last 3 to 5 years in their cans. Low acids like beans, meats, and soups have dates of typically 2 to 5 years, but can last 5 to 10 years plus and still be perfectly safe. Remember, the dates are quality, not safety. Things you want to look out for is bulging cans, typically at the top or their bottom, but they can bulge from the sides sometimes. Rust or large dents near the seams. Leakage, foul smell when opened, or hissing or spurting when opened. That's happened to me. Opened a can and it just kind of exploded. Usually means it's bad. So if you see any of these issues, or if you're in doubt, toss it out. For most of these, once you open, you have 3 to 4 days. For proteins, 1 to 2 days. To maximize shelf life, store in cool, dry place. That means below 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid extreme temperatures, so don't put in places like your garage, which can swing from very cold to very hot. And always rotate your stock. First in, last out. Dried foods, like white rice, typically has a date of 4 to 5 years, but can last 10 years plus. Dry pasta, 1 to 2 years on the label, but typically can last well past 5 years. Dried beans have the best texture before 5 years, but literally can last indefinitely. But flour, 6 to 12 months on the label, but if you toss that in the freezer, can last well over 2 years. Spices don't typically go bad. They are not going to be poisonous to you, but they will lose flavor over time, which isn't great, but it just means that you might have to use more. Don't feel bad about using them. For dry goods, keeping them in sealed, airtight containers can be best. Store in cool, dry, dark places, and avoid heat and moisture. You can even consider using oxygen absorbers or storing in vacuum seal bags. So how can you tell if dry goods have gone bad? Typically, musty or rancid smells. Insects, which yes, it happens. A lot of times there's larvae on flours, wheat, and like dry goods like that, which can hatch and turn into bugs. Throw that away. And discoloring or off taste. Again, when in doubt, throw it out. This whole video is not about not throwing away any food, it's just about learning how to throw away far less. But beyond that, what else can we do? According to a Gallup findings on food waste, people who constantly make use of leftovers waste 70% less food than people who frequently toss out leftovers. People who rarely or never throw away food past the date waste about 55% less food. The best tip, for people who stick to a shopping list, you're more likely to waste 38% less food. And if you really want to get the ball rolling, call your congressman, senator, and tell them that you want legislation on correct and proper food labeling. We need to empower the FDA and USDA to enforce labeling laws. Good ones. Not silly oat milk laws. And we need to put more money into consumer education campaigns. Videos like this can help make a difference, but there needs to be a lot more of them on a much larger scale. And we need reform on food donation laws. Most grocery stores are still trashing good quality foods because they fear liability. The government needs to clarify laws that are already in place to help increase food donations to food banks and cut down on landfills and improve food security. And lastly, just my futuristic thoughts, we have the money and the ability to put funding and science towards smart food packaging that can detect spoilage. Better apps and software for food tracking, donation, and tracing shelf life. I can keep going on the subject, but I do believe every little bit helps. So finding organizations that are already fighting this cause and helping supporting them makes one of the biggest impacts, because they already know what they're doing, and empowering these people with the knowledge is just going to make the tools bigger and better. And that's why I wanted to work with Spoonfuls for my Boston Marathon. So thanks to Spoonfuls for the information on this video and for my interest in fighting food waste. If you'd like to donate to my Boston Marathon run, I'll leave the link below in the description, and I'll also leave a link over here. I've made a few small changes over the last year that I think is making a very small impact, but I'm doing it, and it hasn't been hard. Stopping paying attention to the dates on the labels and using more of my senses has made a big difference, and Monica and I have been wasting far, far less food.